Welcome back and welcome to day 4 of the 5-day fast start. Now, by now, I hope you're learning a lot and I hope you're getting really excited about how far your guitar playing can go when you apply these tools that we're learning. So let's do a quick recap of what we talked about on day 3. Speaking of tools, we talked about the invisible string pattern that is the key that unlocks the guitar neck forever. We call it the freedom key pattern. We talked about the 7 feelings that let you play across the neck by feel instead of having to think about it. We talked about the 2 overarching main components that you need to become an accomplished guitar player, and those are navigation and application. And we talked about how for navigation we have 5 freedom skills. Those are framework, phrasing, fitness, harmony, and rhythm. Those are the skills that make up the guitar freedom formula. And for application, we talked about the 5 style skills. Those are songs, improvising, and writing, styles, tools, and artist studies. So today, what you're going to discover is the 9 easy progress elements that make up the fastest and most effective way to improve on guitar. We'll talk about the most effective learning layout so that when you're out there learning online, you know what to look for to make the fastest progress. We'll talk about why stiff or inflexible fingers is completely 100% normal and what all pros do to get around it, which you can do too. We'll talk about the number 1 thing you can do to improve all aspects of your guitar playing at the same time, and I'm going to give you one simple exercise that will actually reveal how much potential you have in your fingers and show you how far off you actually might think you are from the current ability that you have with your fingers, and show you what it really takes and how much more you can improve. I think it's going to be really exciting for you, and one exercise to actually do that. So let's start off with the 9 elements of the fastest, most effective, and flexible way to learn guitar. And like I said before, this has a process that has been proven and refined after helping nearly 1 million guitar players. Look, just trust me, this is what works best. These are the elements that we have determined that help students over and over again the most. So what's number 1? Number 1 is simply the ability to go at your own pace, right? So if you're not going at your own pace, if you think about it, you're either going too fast or you're going too slow. If you're going too slow, it's boring. If you're going too fast, it's stressful, right? You need to be able to go at your own pace so you can absorb and review material as needed. Number 2 is small bite-sized action steps. Why? So you can actually do them. You can actually do it. It's easy enough for you to do so you can actually make progress. It's just the right amount of challenge without being too challenging so it's intimidating, right? And that when it's intimidating, that makes you just want to kind of put the guitar down, right? We want small bite-sized action steps. Number 3, exercises that build on each other toward a bigger goal in a step-by-step way. So not only do you want those small bite-sized action steps, we want each one of those action steps and exercises to build on each other. So we go toward a bigger result. And we want that to be in a structure that follows a logical order, right? And that way you actually see progress. With each session that you have, you see progress happening right there before your eyes. And that's how you get those big results in a very short time. That's how people get so good so fast, right? So number 4, learning on your own schedule. Now, going at your own pace and learning at your own schedule may sound similar, but going at your own pace is about speed. Learning on your own schedule is about time. Okay, so any time of the day or night, you need to be able to work on your guitar playing. That way it fits perfectly with your lifestyle and your circumstances. So number 5, the ability to get all your questions answered. Look, we know guitar is complex. There's a lot of stuff to learn, and you have questions. You need to get those questions answered, and you need them, when you need to get them answered. You don't want to have to wait a month. You don't want to have to wait to, show up to somebody's house or whatever to be able to ask them questions, and then you're gone, and after that they're like, all right, see you next time. I'm sorry, that just doesn't work. But you need to be able to get your questions answered specifically by somebody who understands where you are, but has progressed further than you. They already have been where you want to be, and they can show you exactly how to get there. Now, number 6 is teaching where the instructor focuses on you. This is a huge one because so many instructors out there, like we talked about, they just focus on them, especially the ones who are really great players, right? They became great players by focusing on them. So when they try to teach, they focus on them still, and it usually, they show off or their ego comes through, and it's a really big turnoff. But you want teaching where the instructor focuses on you. They get right to the point. They cut out the fluff, right? They give you one small bite to work on at a time so you can do it. They cater to you. Number 7 is the ability to follow the path that you're most interested in. Look, it's really basic. If you're not interested, you're going to get bored. You're uninterested, right? We don't want that. So instead of being told to learn useless stuff like Mary Had a Little Lamb, like nobody wants to learn that, right? Or, You know, you've seen those books that says like memorize 1,000 scales or 1,001 chords you need to know. I'm sorry, that's not going to work. Nobody memorizes all those chords in there, and you won't be able to play them all, even if you did memorize them. So the ability to follow the path that you're interested in at the moment, always, is the key to being inspired and motivated to continue to pick up your guitar, right? It inspires you to keep picking it up. Number 8, clear lessons with demonstrated, spoken, and written action steps. That way, they show it to you, they tell it to you, and it's written instructions exactly what you should do. So you always know exactly what you do, exactly what to do, how to do it, when you should do it, and when to move on, right? Most people don't think about that. But that way, you should also have every single resource you need to succeed. For example, if you need an audio track, maybe if you need a chart or a pattern or some tablature or visuals or whatever it is, you also need to have that, okay? So number 9 is teaching that systematically puts it all together and reveals the why. As we all know, most teachers just teach you some stuff. They just say, here's 5 chords you need to know. Here's whatever that you need to know. But that's it. That's all they ever do. And you just get a pile of stuff and you don't know what to do with it, right? We need a system that puts it all together for you and shows you how the big picture works. It builds it for you, right? So you know the why behind what you're doing. You see the big picture, so you can actually pick up your guitar, feel confident, know what you're doing, and have fun, instead of getting bogged down or intimidated or bored by all the stuff that doesn't really make sense. So those are the 9 elements of the fastest, most effective, and flexible way to learn guitar. All right. So now let's talk about the most effective learning layout for a complete recorded lesson. Now, as it says here, this is for a pre-recorded lesson. Okay, so you know what to look for whenever you're out there online. We'll talk about, maybe learning from somebody, learning in a live situation. We'll talk about that tomorrow on day 5. But for right now, this is talking about recorded lessons. Okay, so after nearly 1 million guitar players, this is exactly the elements of the recorded lessons that we found that help people the most. Okay, number 1, clear title. It sounds simple. It sounds like, well, yeah, sure, of course you need a title. But you would be surprised by how many people, how many teachers name stuff out there like 3 chords or the A bar chord. And that doesn't really tell you what am I going to learn? I mean, like, are you just going to, I don't even know what you're going to do, right? It's not clear, right? We need to have clarity. And clarity is the biggest problem why most people don't really ever learn guitar. And by the way, this lesson here, I just made all of this up. This is just an example. All of the, the actual lesson itself. This is just an example of what we would put in the learning format if you were going to learn this 5-day fast start in a recorded lesson format, right? Obviously, this is a presentation. This is a training. This is not a actual guitar playing lesson. You'll get one of those later when we do the dexterity lesson, so you can see how all this works for yourself and you can try it out. But I just made up all these words just as an example because we're watching the 5-day fast start. So this is not, in a real lesson, you would see somebody playing a guitar, and you'll see that here in just a moment. Okay, so this is just an example of what we're doing right now. So the second thing, the second element here is context. You need to know what the heck you're doing. So when it says here's what you discover, first of all, we have a clear title. How to become a true musician. Okay, that's what this is about, this 5-day fast start. Right? How do you go from somebody who just kind of mediocre, kind of plays around with the guitar, plays at the guitar, to actually become a musician who can play what you want. Somebody who can pick up the guitar and play whatever they want. That's what this is about. And we have more context here. So here's what you'll discover. Again, these are just made up, but this is just an example for you. So 5 steps to go from a hobbyist who plays at the guitar to becoming a guitar player you always wanted to be. Okay, great. I have a very clear picture of what that is. I'm going to learn 5 steps. And then how to set a guitar playing goal that you can accomplish easily. Okay, both of those things sound very useful to me. So now I have more clarity and context about what I'm about to watch, so I know what to try to learn from it. That's the point. That's the important part. Okay. Next part, a video. This video needs to explain a few things. It needs to explain some background information if it's necessary. We need to talk about whatever we're teaching in this particular video. It's going to be one central topic, right? Whatever that topic is. And then finally, what do I do with it? So it needs to walk you through exactly what to do on the video, right? I know we have action steps down here. We'll talk about that, but on the video, you also need to be shown what to do, okay? Next part, These aren't shown here, but resources. So if this is just a presentation, so I did not include any kind of like maybe a scale chart or chords or tabs or MP3s or anything, because you don't need that to watch the 5-Day Fast Start. But if you are learning a guitar lesson where somebody is playing the guitar, then yes, you might have some resources here that would go right under the video. Like I said, it might be a chart, might be a chord, might be some chord charts, might be some tabs, MP3s, whatever you need will go right here. So it goes along with the lesson. So you have everything you need before you get to the action steps. Okay. Next is going to be the actual action steps. The action steps should tell you exactly what you should do, when you should do it, how you should do it, and when you should move on. That way there's absolutely no question about what to do. You know exactly what to do. So let's just read through this as an example. Like I said, I just made these up for an example, for this example lesson here. Check this out. Watch the full video above before moving to step 2. That's pretty clear. Okay, now I'm going to click play here. I'm going to watch this video. Great, I did it. Now I'm going to move to step 2. As prompted in the video, write down your guitar goal of what you would love to be able to do 1 year from now on a sheet of paper. Okay, that's pretty clear. And you and I have already talked about that in day 1 about writing your goal. And then it says once you've written it, refine your goal to make it clear and specific, but don't worry about making it perfect. So what that means is you want to refine it, but it doesn't have to be the absolute perfect goal because we do want to move on to step 3. When you've done step 2, very simple, then you put your goal sheet on your desk or in your guitar practice area where you see it every single day. Okay, very simple step. Anybody can do that. Remember those bite-sized action steps? This is it. This is very bite-sized. And number 4, once you have completed steps 1 to 3, which we've already talked about, 1, 2, 3, then simply move on. Well, how do you move on? That's where the next component comes into place. I need to know what to do next. So this shows you exactly what to do next. Move on to the next lesson is step 4. Well, here's a go to the next lesson button. You just click on that. Boom, you're at the next lesson. Okay, and then you have progressed by the time you have done this. Now, finally, something else that's not shown here because I did not have room is a progress tracker. One thing you want to be able to do is track your progress through the lesson so you could, pick up where you left off. You can keep track of how much you have progressed within the lessons and it keeps track for you. And that would go down here. That would just be like a little bar that would tell you what lesson you've done, what lesson you haven't done, what lessons are complete, etc. Okay? So those are the elements of the fastest and most effective learning layout, developed over nearly 1 million students for a complete recorded lesson when you're not live in front of somebody. Okay? Now, let me show you an example of one of these lessons. Now, we're going to do an example lesson, or you're going to do it. It's going to be a dexterity lesson. So we're going to give you a lesson to improve your dexterity quickly. And this picture right here would be an example of a video that would be in the lesson like this. And you're going to see, when you do the lesson, you're going to see what that looks like. Okay? So what is dexterity? First of all, let's make sure we're absolutely clear. Dexterity means your ability to perform tasks with your hands and your fingers. That's basically what that means. And obviously for guitar, that's very crucial, right? We got to remember that no baby in history was ever born being able to play guitar. And that's why we need to train our fingers to improve our dexterity, improve the level that we can move our fingers, okay? Now, it's important to mention that in the early stages of playing guitar, in the earlier levels, especially beginner, late beginner, intermediate, even moving into honestly advanced, but later intermediate, all those areas, improving the dexterity is probably the #1 skill you can work on at those earlier levels. And why is that? Because every single thing you do on your guitar involves your fingers. You have to do it with your fingers. So it only makes sense that the more capable your fingers are by improving your dexterity, well, everything else that you do is easier. That's the one thing that you can focus on that literally removes a bunch of frustrations and allows everything you play, from chords to scales to solos to songs to whatever, everything is easier to play. That's why it makes so much sense to focus on dexterity in the beginning or near the earlier stages of playing guitar. Now, what I want you to do as an action step is I've given you a dexterity lesson. And I want you to go through the full lesson, and I want you to actually do the action step. Now, I'll mention that it's a very easy exercise. Okay, you don't need to get intimidated about anything. It's very, very simple, and it's very easy to do it. But that's the key. Remember, getting better at guitar is all about what you do. So I want you to do the lesson because it will make you better, because it will show you how much potential you have for your fingers to stretch further, to move further, etc. Okay? Finally, when you do that lesson, what you're going to see is you're going to see how much your current level of dexterity is not as high as you think it is. Right? You're going to see how much that's actually holding you back. It's going to be an eye-opening experience, and you're going to see how much potential, how much more room you have to improve, and that's a great thing because that means you can become a heck of a lot better. And number two, it's going to show you one of the fastest and most effective ways to improve your strength and flexibility really, really fast. Okay, so that said, that's day 4 summary and action steps. So what did we talk about today? We talked about the 9 elements of the fastest and most effective way to learn guitar, right? Going at your own pace, small bite-sized action steps, exercises that build on each other, learning on your own schedule, getting your questions answered, teachers that focus on you, the person, the ability to follow the path that you're interested in, clear lessons with demonstrated spoken and written action steps, teaching that puts it all together and reveals the why behind what you play. Those are the 9 elements, okay? We talked about the most effective learning layout for a recorded lesson, right? We've got to have a very clear title, context of what you're going to learn, a video that explains not only the background, but the concept and shows you the action steps. You want to have your necessary resources like MP3s or charts. We want to have clearly written action steps, what to do next, and a progress tracker so you know where you left off. And finally, we talked about how improving your dexterity is the #1 skill to develop at the earlier levels because it makes everything you play so much easier. So for action steps today, I want you to do the dexterity lesson. Okay, follow those action steps on the dexterity lesson. It's very easy. You could literally do it in a few minutes, right? Grab your guitar, just do it. Just do the dexterity lesson and you will start to see improvement, okay? And of course, I want you to come back and watch tomorrow's lesson. It's our final lesson. We're capping everything off. You will discover the secret sauce that ties it all together, right? So you can actually become a complete musician, a true musician, somebody who can really play the guitar. And plus, you're going to get your special bonus when you stick with me and you come back for day 5. So speaking of which, when you watch day 5, what you're going to discover is why you can't avoid blind spots. Doesn't matter how much you learn, doesn't matter how much you practice, and what to do about it. You'll see the one thing top performers in nearly every field have in common that actually takes them to the top, and it's not what you think. You'll see how many of the most famous players will talk about this, like how Jimi Hendrix, how Buckethead, how Steve Vai actually learned how to play guitar, right? And we'll talk about the secret sauce that takes guitar players from just, pretty decent, can play a few things, can play songs, to great, where that impresses anybody who hears you play, and you can use the secret sauce at any time. And finally, we'll talk about the proven plan and recipe to reach your guitar playing goals. And don't forget your special bonus. You're going to get your special bonus tool when you come tomorrow and you finish day 5 with me. That's going to help you stay on track forever. So with that said, I will see you there in day 5 tomorrow.